What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It finally happened. The big thing we've talked about on the flank, this channel a lot, it's finally happened. Activision Blizzard and Microsoft are now one company, with Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. I wanted to kind of cover all facets of this deal. So we're going to step in, talk about why this happened, how kind of it happened, talk about what it means for the games industry, what it means for fans of all of the esports that are kind of covered under this merger, and kind of talk about what's next. So let's dive in and get things started. All right, so if you've had your head under a rock, this has been kind of a thread now for a while. I would say about 2 years. Microsoft and Activision Blizzard agreed to a purchase deal, $68.7 billion, significant amount of coin right there. And then it took a while for this thing to actually close. Like, corporate mergers are difficult, especially massive multinational corporations. They're doing these mergers. You got to get regulators in every facet of the world to approve, and this has been a colossal undertaking to do that, with UK regulators asking a lot of questions, EU regulators asking a lot of questions, the Federal Trade Commission definitely going through some issues as well, and Microsoft and Activision cutting deals with Sony and Nintendo have helped things as well. So this was like definitely a significant undertaking to get this over the line, and they have closed as of this morning. For those wondering about what this means for CEO of Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick, he's going to stay on reporting to Phil Spencer. It seems like, based on a note that Phil Spencer sent to Activision Blizzard employees. And then Kotick, after New Year's, will be gone with his golden parachute. He's obviously going to make a lot of money from this deal, and it's sort of an end of an era for someone that was around very early in Activision Blizzard. But as all things with these mergers, the restructure is going to happen, and that means the CEO of Activision Blizzard is going to take his golden parachute and head on off to the sunset. Now, why would Microsoft do this move? It's kind of obvious, to be honest. If you are someone that, you know, kind of is a big Xbox fan, your first party titles haven't been that good the last couple of years. Yeah, you got Halo, you got Gears of War. But what else you got? And that's sort of the issue that they've had. There's been a lack of exclusives, a lack of really new quality, good intellectual property coming out of, you know, the Xbox 343 sort of world. And so they need access to more intellectual property. And Activision Blizzard, man, has a lot in that vault, stuff that they are making now. We'll talk about like Overwatch, Warcraft, Call of Duty, etc. You know, King obviously is a huge mobile game maker, but bro, they've got a massive vault of stuff that they have made over the last 20 or 30 years that they haven't touched in a while, or haven't touched in 5 to 10 years, that Microsoft can go ahead and reinvigorate as they start working on stuff that they want to make in sort of this current landscape, and also as we look forward to for the next era of console gaming, the next cycle, which is probably going to start in like 3 or 4 years. Some of that stuff will probably come to fruition. If you are a Xbox fan, I would say this is a big W, because if you're a Call of Duty fan, I think it means that we're going to see more Xbox X Call of Duty, more Xbox X Activision Blizzard stuff become either exclusives to Xbox Game Pass, or games being added to Xbox Game Pass, or get early time releases, DLC. You're going to start to see that Xbox Game Pass membership, I think, be more value to you in accessing some of these games. And I'm very curious also in general how they're going to integrate Xbox Game Pass and like Battle.net. That's kind of a big question I have. But there's sort of this merger, not only on the corporate side, but also on the user side, of how Microsoft kind of now combines all these different experiences that existed between these two companies. I think that might be a W for gamers potentially going forward. It could also be an L with the exclusivity. We'll see kind of what happens on that end, but you know, for now it's a W, could be an L. I would think also maybe this might be sort of a W if you're sort of a Blizzard fan. I think the Activision Blizzard merger, if you're a hardcore Blizzard fan, right, we're talking about like the historical record of Blizzard and what they were creating prior to the merger. I'm not saying that they're washed now or that they've fallen off, but definitely that like chokehold on the cultural guys that they had, especially on PC gaming, has kind of waned as there's been more competition coming in. Honestly, the stuff that they put out hasn't been super compelling, right? Yeah, I know the MMOs are still popular, but we're not in that era where the MMOs are sort of the essential piece of like pop culture in gaming like they once were. Yes, Diablo has been great, and I think the new Diablo game has been the new Diablo games have been well received over the years, but StarCraft has kind of waned in popularity. And Blizzard put a lot into Overwatch and Overwatch 2. And I'll be honest that, especially in sort of English-speaking countries, it hasn't really netted in the big thing that they were hoping as a live service game. Maybe for sort of a cultural change, again, for Blizzard, it brings out more creativity. We'll see. A lot of the big creatives that sort of brought the company to what it was have obviously left and gone to other studios. So we'll see if sort of new folks or people that exist over there can kind of bring back that creativity, but could be good for Blizzard. I think for me, the Call of Duty side of this is actually really interesting. So as part of this merger, in order to really get over the line, because I think Sony and Nintendo are putting a lot of regulatory pressure to on this deal, and obviously they want to do that so they can get something out of it. And what Sony got is a 10-year Call of Duty deal. This was kind of revealed over the summer in late July. The franchise will stay on PlayStation. So what this means is that it doesn't mean the exclusivity or the first DLC stuff or the first Windows stuff that we've seen with betas is still really going to exist. It just really means that you're not going to see Call of Duty not be on the PlayStation consoles in the world. So you're good on that front till like the 2030s. After that, TBD. But we're still going to have sort of the multi-platform kind of world of Call of Duty at least exist for some now. But I think the thing is then, well, what does this mean for like exclusive DLC, exclusive beta windows, first looks? Like, is that going to be on Xbox? I would assume it would be. So we're going to see, I think, short term what we may get revealed this year, if maybe, you know, Call of Duty stuff starts ending up on Game Pass. What happens in sort of Q2, Q3 next year as we see the rollout for the next Call of Duty title and that is being worked on, and kind of what that's going to look like in the Xbox universe. This one's going to be a slow burn as far as the Sony end of this, for sure. And I think in general for Call of Duty gamers, I'm just curious if Microsoft's really going to touch or really do much about sort of the Call of Duty sort of business unit. I mean, I think maybe long-term, yes, these corporate integrations can take forever for new policy, new leadership to really go through. But Call of Duty does make a lot of money. And I would be surprised if in the next year or two you see a lot of changes in the Call of Duty decision making. Obviously, we can always be surprised, but long term, I'm very curious to see, will Call of Duty go to more of a live service model, or are they still going to do yearly releases? All of the questions we've been asking about Call of Duty for a number of years. Now there's leadership change, and you know everyone's not going to be reporting directly to Bobby Kotick starting on January 1st. I'm very curious to see what the long term direction of Call of Duty is. All right, enough of that. Let's talk esports because that's why y'all are here. So I'm going to start with Halo. We're going to talk Overwatch and we're going to talk Call of Duty because I think that order is important. And I want to kind of do the W or L thing for this as well. So for Halo, I think that this merger is a W. Let's be honest about where Halo esports is at. I think, first off, if you're not watching HCS World Championship this weekend, you should, because I think it's completely wide open. I have no idea who's going to win this event. There's like 3 or 4 teams that are really good and they all have compelling reasons. And reasons why they should win this. But I would say that this season of HCS has been smaller than the last season. They're not packing as big of venues. They're not doing arena shows. It's smaller. And I think part of that is obviously, you know, as a live service game, Halo has kind of subsided post-launch a couple of years ago. It was great for a couple months and then they didn't really push content. Other stuff came out and then it was sort of dead in the water. So the interest on Halo is kind of iffy long-term. And I think integration into sort of the bigger esports strategy or a bigger esports strategy within Microsoft is really going to help kind of, I think, keep Halo alive by keep, you know, having their hardcore fan base integrate with some crossover to other games. We'll talk about that in a second. This one's interesting. What does the merger mean for Overwatch League? Obviously, some of y'all have seen this statement. Overwatch League's World Championship was a few weeks ago. And it seems like, based on the reporting we've had over the last year or so, Overwatch League's kind of done after the season, and they put out this statement, and it reads, this was sort of a couple of weeks ago. With the completion of the 2023 Overwatch League season, we will be focusing on building our vision of a revitalized esports program. We're eager to share more details with you as details are finalized. So what happens with Overwatch League? My guess is the league is done. They move to more of a third-party model. Some of the OWL franchises may stick around and see if they'll field a team or not, but the Overwatch League as we know it is going to change. And I'm very curious to see, again, how integration might help this. And you might be thinking about and understanding kind of maybe where I'm going with this. Look, some of you may realize where I'm going with this. I think it's pretty obvious. Call of Duty esports is probably, of the 3, probably doing the best, I would guess. You know, last season for Call of Duty esports was probably its most watched season ever. Now, obviously, with the YouTube deal, that might be where we kind of peak. But in general, the interest for Call of Duty esports is a lot higher than I think the other 2, the marketability. But to me, even there's questions about what Microsoft might do as far as first party investment in a massive team to run esports rather than sort of farming it out to a third party. And I think where you see me going with this is I think we're going to see sort of the thought process of a return to these multi-game, multi-party event. Do I think MLG is going to come back? I don't know. Activision owns the MLG intellectual property. Will they sell it back or use it and have a third-party operator like White Label run it? I don't know. That's a question for other people in the industry that, not me, might be trying to do that. But I could see it happening. If it's not MLG, it's going to be somebody else. It's going to be like DreamHack or ESL, since everybody's just under one company now under Savvy Gaming. We've covered that extensively on this channel. But I think for Overwatch League or Overwatch third-party, whatever they're going to call it now, Overwatch World League, I don't know, whatever they're going to call it, and HES, I think naturally tying it into Call of Duty events, StarCraft events like you used to see back on the MLG Pro Circuit is going to be really good for those esports. And I think you might see the return of these sort of big ballroom shows, because I don't think Halo in its current form is going to be selling out arenas. They've obviously been doing a decent job of it in Overwatch League. And yeah, you can maybe see standalone Overwatch League or Overwatch Championships be arena shows or maybe one or two a season, but playing them in smaller or side stage or main stage with other main stage kind of events will be really key. I think it'll also be good for Call of Duty. I mean, you just get more eyeballs, more interest. Obviously, there's always a lot of considerations around events like you see here, scheduling, crossover, media distribution, resources. Like there's just a lot. But the Call of Duty esports universe is a lot healthier with Call of Duty League, with World Series of Warzone, with COD Mobile, and sort of allowing the other Microsoft properties now under one umbrella to kind of attach itself to that. I think is going to be really key to the long-term growth and health of those esports. So I'm very curious to see if we'll get any news on this or anyone trying to attempt on this year. You would have to think so. I think Call of Duty League is in a similar boat as Overwatch League at the end of this current season that's coming up. So I'm curious to see if we'll get any news probably like in the spring or summer around some thoughts around what's happening next season. So stay tuned for that, and obviously we'll cover it here on channel. So yeah, that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this merger. I'm sure there's stuff I missed. That was sort of my initial set of thoughts on this, but we'll talk about it more on the streams this weekend and in the coming days, because it's a very interesting proposition and sort of a cascading change as we know it to the gaming industry. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and as always guys, we will see you on the next one.